Hello, I'm here today to talk about our homework assignment, which is discussing a relationship between Nephi and Isaiah, and specifically going over how Nephi uses Isaiah with his people. To give just the briefest backstory, obviously we know Nephi, along with Lehi and his family, their entire family has left Jerusalem. They've crossed the ocean. They're now in the Americas, where they are establishing a civilization, and with them they've brought the words of Isaiah in the form of the brass plates, and this would become a critical thing because as Nephi and the Nephites and the Lamanites are going out and establishing themselves in these new lands, it's very important for them to establish a sense of identity, and that's something that society brings oftentimes as a sense of identity, a sense of knowing who we are. And that's something that people lost because they left their homeland. They left, their ancestors where they would have grown up, right? And they're having to start all of this new. And so Nephi uses the words of Isaiah to communicate to his people who they are and what it is, their story. The first time that we hear about Nephi or Isaiah in the Book of Mormon is actually in 1 Nephi 19 through 20. And what he does here is he uses Isaiah to inspire his people, inspire hope in the restoration of the scattering of the Jews. Because the entire reason that the Nephites, or that the people of Nephi had left Jerusalem was because of the destruction that was coming because of the Babylonians, right? We know Isaiah is broken down into sections, and Nephi chooses to focus his commentaries and what includes the Book of Mormon on the latter half, which is all about the hope of Christ and the promise that one day the scattered Israel will be brought back together. Now, we can go to these verses and read them real quickly. In 1 Nephi 15, 19, and 20, it says, "And it came to pass that I, Nephi, spake unto them concerning these things. Yea, I spake unto them concerning the restoration of the Jews in the latter days. And I did rehearse unto them the words of Isaiah, who spake concerning the restoration of the Jews, or of the house of Israel. And after they were restored, they should no more be confounded, neither should they be scattered again. And it came to pass that I did speak many words unto my brethren, that they would be pacified and did humble themselves before the Lord." I wonder if Laman and Lemuel felt, obviously jaded and frustrated that they left their homeland. But perhaps that brought them hope, knowing that one day they would be gathered back. Now, maybe it wasn't communicated that they wouldn't be gathered back necessarily to Jerusalem, but across the world. That maybe that was the thing that brought them hope. I think I have no idea about that. Nephi's commentary continues on, as we see. Obviously, he writes many sections in 2 Nephi, but the next one I wanted to focus on and turn to is 2 Nephi 25, and what this does is this is the time that it begins, that Nephi begins to give his commentary on Isaiah, right? So we get the chapters in here that describe the scattering and the gathering of Israel, and then Nephi will go through and actually explain how and what's going on, because it would have been very hard for them to connect to what Isaiah would said, because they weren't living in those lands anymore. And so, pulling this up here, Nephi's prophecy, really what it does, it lays out in plainness the scattering and rejection of Christ, or the rejection of Christ, because of that, the scattering, and then the restoration of Israel. An interesting commentary that he does give is that many of these prophecies would actually be fulfilled in the last days. And we know that this does come to pass because of what happens with Moroni and Joseph Smith, right? That the bringing forth of the Book of Mormon, missionaries, the bringing forth the restoration of the church, all contributed to that gathering of Israel, which is what Nephi brought him so much hope. Because Nephi, as we know towards these later chapters in 2 Nephi, sees the destruction of his people, and he weeps over it because of how sad he is. He knows they'll be lost. He knows that even in the Americas they'll be scattered and driven forth. But the hope that he has through Isaiah is that one day they will be restored, and that they will be restored through Christ, and that when he comes again, they will no more be scattered, they will no more be driven forth, and they will have the hope and peace that he gives. that brings a lot of comfort to him. And that's, I think, one of the pivotal reasons that Isaiah is included so much in the Book of Mormon. Besides, obviously, Christ mentioning when he comes to America is the great are the words of Isaiah. I think one of the biggest reasons is that it brings the people of Nephi, and it brings specifically Nephi, hope that no matter what happens to his people, that his seed would eventually be brought together, and that they would be brought to, they would be not unscattered. That Israel would be restored.